All right, not the most pleasant weekend for our beautiful Aggie baseball and Aggie basketball teams that have been doing oh so well lately, giving us a lot of reasons to smile, giving us some good times. And you had a little bit of a lull this week. It started with basketball, losing the game on Tuesday, and then following it up with another loss on Saturday to the number 6 ranked team in the country versus Tennessee in Reed Arena. Great turnout. You lost it. You made it a game. It was a competitive atmosphere, but you couldn't get it done. And then, of course, baseball drops a game today, and it honestly felt like it was a matter of time before they were going to drop a non-con because they haven't been playing their best. And that's lost on nobody. Everybody can see that. Are we hitting the panic button? Are we 6 games into this season concerned long-term that this team is not going to live up to the lofty expectations that it had before? And expectations are a weird thing. They set our basis for comparison. They set our reality, basically. They tell us what we're going to perceive the team as, and they haven't met that so far. There have been some conditions, there have been some reasons, but there has also just been some sloppy play on the A&M baseball team. And I want to talk about all of that, but I also want to emphasize that it's early. It's early in the early era, and we have a hell of a lot more baseball to play. But basketball is running out of time, and you're going to be a little bit more urgent on that front. We'll talk about both today. It's the weekend recap show. Thank you guys for being here. Again, this is going to be a regular show, 6:30 Sunday night, unless we have to push it back due to late baseball games. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we'll do that if need be. New show to the series. Keep in mind, I'm no baseball expert, but I'm going to react to what I saw the best I can. But I really want to hear from you guys. The call-in link is pinned in the chat. Click that. I want you guys to call in and tell me if you're concerned. If you're hitting the panic button, if there's reason for long-term concern, because I'll give you a spoiler alert. I mean, I'm concerned about the short term. Long term, I'm far from jumping off a cliff. I'm far from saying anything that we thought was on the table before the season is not on the table anymore now. I'm talking Omaha and beyond. That stuff is still there for you because this is baseball and there are ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and you're starting on a down. So I want to hear from you guys. If you're not going to call in, at least give me your feedback in the chat here because I'm going to give you my brief takes over the weekend for both teams, and then I'll let you guys kind of take over the show through the chat. I'll pull your chats onto the screen and we'll talk about it, and then we'll get into the calls. So thank you guys so much. Let's see who's here today. James Ellis, tough game today. Yeah, it was a tough game today. Thought you were going to sneak out of there, but they scored enough late, and we didn't. So it happened. Brutal, tough. You lost a non-con. And quite honestly, in the offseason, if you were listening to me, I thought we would lose a non-con or two. And I thought there would be panic about losing a non-con or two because of those expectations on this team. And whether they're warranted or not, I guess time will tell. But thanks for being here, James. BTTS, well, today soured my overall view on the weekend, but nonetheless, some positives to build on for both sports. It's clear both teams have room to grow, and there's nothing wrong with that. Well said. Paulie's starter today was on fire. Yeah, they were all their starters are pretty good this weekend. I mean, to compound that, you know, our bats are also cold. So it's a comboed effect there, and you're seeing the results there. Who else is in here? Cooper King, howdy. I see you in the call waiting room. We'll get you in here. I see Noble Guy in the waiting room. We'll get to y'all as soon as we can. I'll try to go through my stuff quickly because I want this to be y'all's show. And again, I'm no expert, but we'll go through it. Noble Guy, good to see you. Color me concerned. Okay. Little concern for Noble Guy. We'll let you talk about it. Noah 2 Wavy, good to see you, my friend. Randy Trujillo, softball is doing great. Softball is doing awesome. I wish I had more time to dedicate to it, but I'm trying to catch every baseball and basketball game because I'm trying to bring you the best information I can, at least the best feedback I can, the best, takes I can. But I do appreciate what Aggie softball is doing. They've been amazing so far, even though I can't catch most of their games. Regardless, I'll still take 6-1. LSU just lost to Omaha. Yeah, they lost to Omaha. Virginia also lost early. It's baseball. Absolutely. Let me know if the audio is okay. Noble said the audio might not be great. Y'all let me know. Ronnie Barker, good to see he'll be in San Antonio this week. Make sure you get yourself some nice San Antonio tacos asadas or maybe get some fajitas, margarita. Make the most of it, my friend. Ronnie Barker all the way from Tokyo checking in. Appreciate you, man. Fresh corn has been nails. The die was just, the guy put a nice swing on it. 6-0, we shouldn't be as upset. Yeah, that was a great swing. That was a 97-mile-per-hour ball with some good movement on it, and the guy snagged it. We heard Mike Early talk about it. It was a great swing. I'm not concerned about fresh corn. A couple other guys haven't performed as well in the relief side of things, but we'll talk about it. The bats I can forget because of the cold weather. The lack of hustle and care on defense is what worries me. The amount of errors is insane. Absolutely is insane. A lot of stuff. Good to see you, Space Jesus. What up, Matt Dickerson? No disco tonight, unfortunately, coming off of a loss, but good to see you, Matt. Shot too many threes. 5 for 30 is too many. We shot 16%. Tennessee shot 48%. That's your game. Taylor takes too many bad shots during the flow of the game. I agree with some of that. All right, I'll give you my quick thoughts. Again, no baseball expert here, but I'm going to tell you how I'm perceiving what we're seeing right now. Again, I'm one of those guys that anticipated not the cleanest start. This is probably a little bit less clean than I would have estimated, especially in the fielding world and at bat. I think some of the relief pitching stuff we're seeing, some of the drop-off we're seeing after our great starters, all three starters have been perfectly adequate. I think there's still some more there, especially Lampkin can probably improve a little bit, but they're doing their job, and I'm very happy with the starting pitching right now. And let's give a special shout-out to Miles Patton. 2 Sunday starts in a row, absolute nails, absolute weapon, totally worthy of being a starter on Texas A&M, the preseason rank 1 team. He fits the part. He looks the part. He is our starter, and we should appreciate this man. But, of course, you're seeing a little bit of dip in the relief pitching. You're also not seeing the hits that you're expecting. I think maybe 10 max hits through the first few games. Let's see here. If I have the stats pulled up somewhere. I think we had... I'm going to try to pull these up for you guys so I have them on screen. Here we go. Oh, let's go game by game. You had a couple good hits versus Elon, but this last series, you never hit 10 hits. You only had 5 hits today, and today was not a weather game. So the bats, to me, are the number one detriment on this team because I think even though you're making mistakes defensively, and that's a whole conversation to have. There is sloppiness fielding the baseball right now. It's happening at third base. It's happening at shortstop. It's happening at first base. It's happening in a lot of places. Maybe right field's a little bit of a bright spot on the fielding department because Terrence Kill, too, has been amazing. But you're making mistakes, and you're not relief pitching extremely well at the level that you need to be. However, with what we expect these bats to be, I don't know if it's the concern it normally is if your bats are doing what we expect them to do. And that's kind of my big pressure point here. That's kind of my big question. Do you guys expect these bats to stay as cold as they have been? Because I certainly don't. I think you've seen a little bit of, I don't know what the word is, hesitancy swinging at those strikes amongst some of the guys we're used to seeing swing at these really good pitches, swinging at the premium pitches that they're given. I'm talking Laviolette. I'm talking Schott. I'm talking Gavin, even though they've had their moments this year. I think amongst these guys, I'm talking Gavin Cash, guys we expected more out of. Some of these mainstays are not getting it done right now. Now, there's a couple factors here, one of which, of course, has been the weather, which not only affects their in-game hitting, it affects their training, it affects their regular training schedule. So that's a factor here that's thrown off. But as Coach talked about today, they're also just not swinging at what they normally swing at, and they're not connecting on what they should be connecting on. They are playing sloppy baseball as a whole right now. But I think what I expected going into the year was a little bit of a ramp up. I don't know if learning curve is the right word, but a ramp up, kind of learning what you are on the defensive side when you're fielding and amongst the relief pitching. I think that especially the pitching part, going into the year, losing Cortez, losing Aschenbeck, we absolutely anticipated that there would be a learning curve in the pitching department. I don't think we anticipated the bats to be as bad as they were right now. And if they're their typical selves, you don't drop the game today. You don't only have 2 runs at the end of the game. You don't probably find yourself in these nerve-wracking moments within these last few games versus Cal Poly. If it's not a weather game, you probably handle that first game versus Elon a little bit better. And you feel a lot differently about this team as a whole right now. So to me, everything's about the bats right now, because that's the one part of this team we knew going into the year that you would have, and we haven't yet. And I don't think it stays that way for very long. So because of that, my kind of immediate win-loss concerns, they're there, but I don't think this is going to last more than 2-3 weeks. I believe that those bats will eventually carry us over some of this sloppy play. Now, by the time you get to SEC play, you got to at least clean up the fielding, man. I'm seeing too many bobbles. I'm seeing too many drops. I'm seeing too many just straight up errors. Go back to the first series, missing some routine pop fly balls. That stuff must be cleaned up. I think pitching might be a work in progress for a while, but I think you can overcome that as long as you just do what you're capable of doing right now. And that's making contact on the pitches that are available, and that's just not making these fielding mistakes. So overall, long-term concern for me, I'm not letting myself get into that yet. But you got to see these bats come around. You got to see the sloppiness go away. A couple of bright spots, because remember, despite all the mistakes, despite the negatives, early season, we're still very much in the information gathering portion of a sports season. You know, the first couple weeks of football are that way. The first, few series of baseball are that way. The non-con of basketball is that way. And I think there's some positive stuff. I'll start with Jacob Galloway. This guy's been a great catcher. This guy's been more than adequate bottom man of your lineup. And I think he's proving that he's going to be the man at catcher going forward, because I think there's a little bit of a difference in level of play between him and Bear Harrison right now. And, they're probably going to keep giving Bear his chances because there's a reason he's playing right now. He has talent. But I'm totally happy with what we're getting from Jacob Galloway. I don't think the errors we're seeing fielding are because of catcher. I'm going to call catcher center. It's a mistake that I commonly make. So if I say center, I mean catcher, not center field. Very happy with Jacob Galloway. Of course, Terrence Keel II has probably been our best fielding player of the year so far in right field, coming up with some great on-the-run grabs, some great throws out of right field. He's been solid. You saw Jamal George get in the action, have a huge RBI in the game. You have depth there. We knew we had depth, and you're seeing it play out, and you still have Bergevin, who hasn't played. You still have Sorrell that hasn't played. You're not seeing TK2 and Jamal play at the same time. You're showing depth. You're showing... If you're having some questions going into the year, one of the answers you're getting is that, okay, we have several options on the tail end of this rotation, and maybe you make a shuffle eventually. Maybe you have to move players around, because right now, Gavin Grahovac, obviously playing hurt, obviously not 100%, making mistakes. You see him still kind of wincing in pain after some of his swing and misses. That's something you might have to keep an eye on. That's something they might have to consider shelving him for a couple of games or a series or something like that. And you have options to play there. So that's been good. A couple of guys we want to see more from. I think we need to see more from Gavin Cash. He had a great year last year at Texas Tech. We need to see him return to form. He's had some great throws out of left field, but, the bats have not been there for him yet. And Hensler, he kind of got some of his stuff going this weekend after not doing much versus Elon. And I think there's another gear to happen there. I think it's so obvious that there's much more to give with these batters, and that it will come with time, and that should bandage some of the other wounds on the team that might be more ongoing long-term. So I want to stop for a second and see what you guys are saying. All that to say, it's early. I'm letting things play out. Let's see what you guys are saying. Nice having a Friday level starter going Sunday for us. Yeah, man, it's been great. Miles Patton has been, I think Patton and Terrence Keel II have been the ultimate bright spots of this team early. And also just Prager being Prager, and Lampkin, I think there's still some better play from Lampkin to come, but he's been fine. I think the starting pitching and a couple of those other players that we mentioned have been really nice, but Patton's right at the top of that list, man. It's been a godsend. He'll be a mainstay. It's a huge piece to have. You have all three starters settled right now. And of course, that's without Sadeo. You're missing him for the year. He'd be a starter as well. But, credit to getting Patton into the program out of Long Beach State. We need that warm north wind. There were 2 balls absolutely blasted by Galloway and Binder up today. I know, man. The bats would have been different today a little bit if the weather conditions are more typical Texas baseball conditions. But even with that being said, it's still a sloppy batting situation. We're trying to hit the ball out instead of just good contact. It seems to be the mantra, because I would agree with that. Kind of just swinging for the fences instead of trying to make contact at times. And look, we have a lot of sluggers on the team, man. There are a lot of guys that want to do that, so it does make sense. But I think going back to basics would be a good strategy, Randy. Early's postgame was great. He's well aware of the issues. 100%. I loved it. Oh, we're talking about Wemby right now? You're going to try to get me riled up? We're already talking about a baseball loss today and some lackluster play. You're going to get me talking about Wemby? Unfortunately, Wemby has a blood clot. No long-term concerns. He'll be back next year. Maybe the Spurs will tank. This is not a Spurs show. You can get me talking about that for an hour, though. If this is starting baseline for our starting pitching rotation, that's fantastic. Yeah, for sure. And if they're going to just improve from this point forward, Noble, like you anticipate a team to do, especially a team with a new coaching staff to do, it's a great starting point amongst the starting pitchers. Basketball has to find a way to finish games. Yeah, for sure. We shouldn't rely on wins for sure we shouldn't rely on wins. It'd be nice, though, but we shouldn't rely on them. And again, I think there's obviously more than just the weather conditions that are plaguing this team, but they are a factor. They are a factor. Starting baseline is so good. I grew up around Cal Poly. They've always had a good baseball program. Produced a lot of big leaguers. Yeah, they're solid. Yeah, man. Got to find it. But going ahead, you have some respectable opposition this coming weekend. Let's talk about that real quick. See if I can pull up the schedule. Going to Houston, you got the Tuesday game versus Texas State, and then you got Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Rice, all in Houston, Texas this weekend. So you're going to have a big jump in opposition. So maybe that brings the best out of a team. Hopefully you get some good weather, and hopefully this is an opportunity to get some bats going. So this is your week's lineup right here. Hopefully there's no more cancellations. Hopefully there's no more shortened games. Hopefully there's no more delays. Let's get back to basics and then find our bats for sure. Look, I anticipate that there will be mistakes pitching and fielding going forward. I think it's going to take a while. We have guys that are doing things they didn't do before. Like we have Hensler now. You have Kent, who's had some really good moments at shortstop. He's had some bad moments at shortstop. You've seen a little bit of both from Kent. And obviously Gavin's working through some stuff right now. So let's see things get cleaned up, specifically batting right now, because I think that's the most immediate thing this team should not only just address, but just get back to baseball, back to what they're used to being. Let's make some contact. Let's swing at the good pitches. Let's make contact on the good pitches and go from there. So this is what we're looking at this week, people. This is it. All right, real quick on basketball. Yeah, it was a great start. Coming off of that loss to Mississippi State on the road, I thought Mississippi State matched up great against us. I thought their passing was really good against our aggressive brand of defense. I thought they took our big men out of the game, which is huge. Our big men are by far our highest percentage scorers on the team. But I thought that they responded really well early in Reed Arena, morning tip against Tennessee, number 6 team in the nation, by most reports, by most people that watch the game, by statistics, the best defense in the country right now. And A&M played really well to start. You got energy from they went back to a different starting lineup that they hadn't used before. They moved Payne back to the bench. They started Solo. They started Andy Garcia. And I thought that kind of moving Obaski to the bench to start really kind of opened things up more for Zurich Phelps, who I thought started the game really well. I thought that your bigs started the game really well, really good defense. You started with like a 10-point lead, and going into halftime, you felt pretty good about the performance. But as the game slowed down last 10 minutes of the game, you really lost your offense. And you kind of got into a dribble, shoot offense, shooting with 15 seconds on the play clock, taking contested threes late into the game. And it's hard for me just to look at Wade Taylor and say, okay, Wade Taylor, you should be making better decisions. I mean, yeah, he took some bad shots, but why is this offense not looking to get other guys involved? Why are we not getting Payne involved, who's been so good inside? Why are we not targeting Wilcher, who's been nails from the three-point line? Why are we not looking for open shots? It doesn't seem like this offense is really efficient at getting into their half-court sets. It seems like setting the off-ball screens and some of that action is easily disrupted by opposing defenses. And give them credit. They forced us into some bad shots. But I would have loved to see some more patience down the stretch of the game. I would love to have seen Henry get some cuts going. I would have loved to see some more pick and roll. I would have loved to see Payne post up more and get to the line with his 55% free throw shooting. I would have loved to see all of that stuff more than what we got down the stretch. And again, really good defense. But how do you find your offense? What is your offense down the stretch in these close competitive games, of which you're going to see many down the stretch? Because, I mean, I'll pull up the schedule. You guys know what the schedule is down the road. And after the schedule, it's tournament time, both SEC and nationally. What do you have versus Vandy, who's a tough team coming to Reed Arena on Wednesday? What do you do at the number 2 team in the country, Florida? What do you do versus Auburn down the stretch in these close moments, in these close games? Are you going to rely on your rebounds and defense and hustle and aggression to win these games? Because that worked in some games earlier in the year. It worked versus Ole Miss. It worked versus South Carolina. It worked versus Missouri, and you got a couple of big shots from Wade Taylor, which, should happen. He won't stay cold. But what is your offensive go-to late in games versus these premium opponents? I kind of got to see that, and that's kind of been the worry all year. That's been the one thing. It's like, okay, they better find at least some offense late in the season going into tournament play. And in this latest sample size versus Tennessee, it didn't happen. And you're going to see more close games. And you're going to go up against other teams like Tennessee who are capable of making clutch baskets that you're going to have to respond to late in games. Because we saw Tennessee get hot from three. They were hot from three all game, especially that one guy. Forget his name. That guy was on fire, Steph Curry-esque. But what's your offensive response? So they look to bounce back versus Vandy, and you guys see it. You got to beat Vandy. You got to beat LSU. Let Florida and Auburn fall where they may. At least look good in doing it, whether you win or lose. Because you won't lose too much ground losing those two games. You beat Vandy, you beat LSU, you're a 3 seed. And that's, going into the year, amazing. Amazing stuff. But right now, with the 2 and the outside chance at 1 seed being on the table, losing out on that does suck. But at least maintain the status quo and give yourself a chance later in this postseason run to at least find some heat shooting these balls and find some offense, some better shots, some better opportunities for yourself. That's what it's going to be all about. Because I have a feeling no matter who they play, A&M is capable of making it a game. The way they play will facilitate a lot of close action. Just their toughness, their grind, the way they wear teams down. They will be in a lot of close games. How do you finish them offensively, man? How do you finish them? How do you find baskets? All right, let's check into the chat one more time, and then we'll get right into the phone calls. I have a couple people waiting. We have Cooper and Noble Guy. Long Beach State, Cal Poly, Cal Fullerton, all tough baseball teams. Hey, I like that Long Beach State pitcher that's on A&M now. Rice used to be a very good baseball program. Are they still? I think they are. Being indoors this weekend will give us a great look to see where our hitting and fielding really, for sure, 100%. And you should be able to see yourself get into a normal practice schedule this week with the weather, at least somewhat improving. I think there's one more cold front, but I think it's dry, and I don't think it's as cold. I think there's one more cold front coming up. Especially have a shot at drafting Trey Johnson from Texas at 10. I wouldn't be mad about getting Trey Johnson. Basketball is tough to beat when they're hot, but extremely stale when they're cold. Obaski has not given us nothing this last 5 games. It's been bad, man. We've been getting bad Obaski these last few games, and he was such a big piece kind of his progression late last season, and we have not gotten that, man. I think he's lost some confidence for whatever reason. He's not starting anymore. I think there's been a little bit of trust lost with him kind of operating the offense, but he has a chance to get it back. And again, what I say about Obaseki is he has talent. He has the ability. It's just the willingness and the confidence and the aggression that escapes him. And he doesn't touch the paint often. He kind of gets stuck in a dribble sometimes. Will turn it over sometimes because he kind of lacks his go-to what to do in a moment. It's tough because he's our 3rd primary ball handler behind Zurich and Wade. So you need better Obaseki for sure. There's no 2 ways about it. You have to get it. Next 4 opponents, all very tough. In baseball, absolutely. Taylor can't go cold like that. Look, and if he does go cold like that, we got to see this offense evolve and adapt, man. You were taking too many contested Taylor threes down the stretch. And I know we live and die by those, and I'm okay with that. But they have to be better shots. It was the off the dribble, totally contested desperation threes for me. He took a couple of those late. He got fouled on one of them, but get better looks, man. We're jacking up shots. Yeah, absolutely. And, your ball handlers are taking all the threes. Your other guys aren't going to be able to find rhythm. I think Wilcher and Hefner should be shooting a lot more. I think those 2 guys need to shoot a lot more. Buzz has lost confidence in Manny. Buzz needs to realize his offense going inside to Payne and Coleman. I think Payne is such a stabilizer for this offense, man. When things aren't working, you can dip it down to him. He can slow the game down and score by himself or draw fouls. He has been such a weapon. But they did effectively take him out of the game on Tuesday. Mississippi State did. And I think we didn't get back into him on Saturday to the degree that we should have. Because I think Mississippi State had a great game plan. They were ready for Payne. They were bringing a baseline double every time. They forced a couple turnovers. They forced him to pass the ball out. And that really hurt the offense. And then we just didn't see them go back to it this Saturday. We scored 1.04 points per possession, which only 3 other teams have done versus Tennessee's defense this year. Sorry, it's kind of nerd talk, but layman's terms, offense was not bad. It was just bad when it mattered. I think this team played well enough to win. It was just down the stretch, just not taking good shots. Parzival, it's good to see you, man. I'm just dropping by to say hello, but the loss of Cal Poly is depressing, so I don't want to talk about it. I respect it, man. All right, I know it's not always fun to just talk about a loss or talk about negative stuff, but that's where we are in the season right now. Just finished 2nd in Fortnite. Just taking L's today, Matt, but hey, that's a good finish. All right, let's get to the calls. Cooper, you're on with Drew. How you feeling, man?
I'm not nervous about baseball, just because that's how the game goes. I mean, any given day, all these D1 teams are so talented.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just you gotta do your best, play your best every day to win. Like go undefeated for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, especially D1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the result sucks, and I think you play that game a few times. It doesn't happen that way. But is there anything you're seeing that gives you long-term concerns? Is the fielding a big concern? Is the pitching, the bats, or is this something that you think will kind of blow over as the weeks go by and as they kind of get some time with the new staff and just settling into the year?
I'd say, I mean, you got a little bit of a spark yesterday with Jamal George. You shook up the lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
Just get some fresh legs in there, and I think, I mean, you got to do that more often, because these guys get tired. I mean, it's a rigorous schedule. Like being a D1 SEC baseball player, it's not easy. So
Yeah, and it made sense to kind of put Yamal in for TK2 because, again, Terrence Keel is a freshman. He's a new guy. Yamal has to play because eventually he's going to have a moment where he has to start for an extended time. I think he's the first up for an injury or any kind of movement you make on the lineup. If something happens, he has like 4 or 5 positions he can play. Yeah, it was awesome to see him get in there, and he played well. He had that huge RBI in the game, and solid player, man. Solid stuff to see from him, but I mean, would you expect bats to bounce back sooner than later? Do you think they're going to drop a few more? Because I predicted 2 non-con losses, and it might be more than that. That was where I was going into the year, and maybe that's just me trying to settle down my expectations. But you got one done, and there's reason to believe that it's a wake-up call. But I mean, what's kind of the timeline you would expect here?
I mean, I don't think this is gonna be a hot take, but I mean, I think without that big wind blowing in, Benderup's ball goes out, and Galloway's ball goes out, and Galloway, that would have been a grand slam. So,
Dude,
I
I
mean,
know.
you win the game 8-2. So I'm not worried about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know early is a hitting coach, and he's gonna preach hitting, and I mean, look how he did last year with our hitting. I mean, I don't think he's not a bad coach. I don't think it's a coaching issue. We just got to get it going.
Yeah, 100%. Well, all right. Any closing thoughts on baseball before we quickly talk about basketball?
Honestly, I think like pitching. I mean, Miles Patton, he's the dog, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think all three of. I mean, Lamkin, he struggled a little bit his first start, but everyone knows like once he gets hot, like when he pitched against Florida in Omaha. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't like anyone could hit him. I mean, that Florida team, Jack Caglione and all those guys, I mean, they were there for a reason, and they just couldn't touch him. So,
Yeah.
and Prager's going to be Prager, you know that. So,
Yeah, man, it
yeah.
looks like these starters are going to take us a long way. It's just finding your go-to. And I think I may have stopped watching for an inning or so. What happened? I thought Brad Rudis was doing great. Why did they eventually sit him down?
I have no clue. I think, honestly, maybe just get some other guys some looks. That's what I think. I
Yeah.
don't, he wasn't doing bad because, I mean, he's a veteran, and he honestly played really good, pitched really good today.
Yeah, I thought so too. And again, early talked about it. Fresh corns pitch that got yammed. I mean, that was a good pitch, and that was an
Mm-hmm.
even better swing. It was a 97-mile-an-hour ball, and it had movement, and the guy just tagged it, and it went. So I think that's what happens in baseball, and that's part of the sport right there. And again, if the bats are there, if you have a different wind that day, which is, again, I don't want to excuse it too much by giving it to the wind, but I think if
Yeah.
bats are what we expect them to be, you win games like this. You won't be dropping games, and I think it's pretty reliable to say that stuff will improve for sure. Especially, I mean, I think Gavin Cash, he's had a really rough start. I think it's a matter of time, man. He was too good last year to just say he's going to be like this all year. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be fine, man. But anyway, did you catch the basketball game yesterday?
I caught a little bit of it. I had a baseball game myself, so I wasn't really. I was. I think I started at 11, and the basketball game started at 11, so I just
Okay.
caught the very end, and it was like, it was too close, so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn it off. I can't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need more. Like my blood pressure to get up. So
Well, what's your just kind of feel going to the tail end of the basketball season? How you feeling about their chances?
I feel like we really need to just play more consistent offense.
Yeah.
And defensively, I don't know, man. I mean, you just gotta in Buzz's system. I feel like your best offense is a really good defense,
Yeah. When you're getting
and
transition, yep.
in transition and getting offensive rebounds, second chance points. I mean, that's what this team's all about. So once you start, not getting those second chance points, that's when you're gonna start losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, Cooper, man, I appreciate the input. Any closing thoughts?
Uh, Nothing, not really. But thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you soon. Have a good one. All right, let's get right over to Noble Guy. Noble, you said you had some concerns, man, and I know you're a baseball guy. Let's hear them. Is the sky falling?
No, no. Maybe a mild concern. The eyebrow raise emoji
Yeah.
would be a better way to describe it rather than full panic mode. Maybe that would be a good way to describe weekend by weekend is would just rate the weekend by emojis. So this would be the eyebrow raise emoji.
Okay, okay. So let's back up. Versus Elon. It wasn't perfect, but you got the job done, especially on Saturday and Sunday with the weather stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, eyebrows a little bit raised there. First series of the year, whatever. You don't play Tuesday. This weekend was a lot of the same stuff. Is that kind of what the reason was? It's just like the
Yeah,
same thing as first week.
like forget the loss. Like it's not like the loss is not the thing that bothers me. It's the it's multifaceted. So first of all, the obvious thing is the bats. Like so with you know with a better win, we could have knocked out 2 home runs, would have won the game. It still means most of the lineup went like struck out or 0-4 or
Yeah.
like it's still pretty bad across the board, and you're relying a couple of long bombs against a decent but not SEC level opponent to win that game. So that still would have been an issue down the road. It's an issue now.
Yeah.
And then like it's I mean I can like we'll go through the like right now we only have one, two, three, four, five guys hitting over 250 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And right now Terrence Keels are hitting the best average right now, which is this is the time where you rake, especially if you're a veteran, where you boost your numbers, you just and you help inflate them for before you go into SEC, against SEC pitching.
Yeah.
I think obviously like every Friday night starter we go up against is going to be a tough out. So I don't expect like that. That's why I was like, I didn't really mind last Friday, especially with the weather. It was going to be a tough out. And then we, ultimately like we got enough hits through the rest of the weekend that I wasn't really concerned. But this week, I'm pretty sure we got out hit by Long Beach or Cal Poly. I mean, not Long Beach.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of guys are performing decently at bat. It's the Terrence Keel. He's batting 429. Galloway's 357. Hensler's 318. And Kent is 316. And that tracks. Those have been our best bats, our most consistent bats. But the ones you really don't expect to continue, I mean, if they do, it's a problem. But Hayden shot 240. He's like 320 last year overall. Gavin, 227. Binder up, 222. I mean, we haven't seen it, but the reports are that he was one of our best bats in camp. Jace at 211, Gavin Cash at 182. I mean, if they stay like that, my eyebrows are staying permanently raised, and it's going to change the emoji to an angry emoji. But I just don't anticipate it, right? Like that has to be the quickest fix to this team, to the results, to the feel of games. Has to be those guys just getting back to themselves, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. So that being, I said what I said about the hitting. I don't expect that to continue. Hayden Shot in particular needs to really, like because he's a great hitter, and I still see the swing and I see the vision, like he's making some decent contact. But I mean, he only hits, so like he must be feeling an immense amount of pressure right now, to do something right now. So, but I do anticipate everyone, finding their swing and getting that. So that's not a huge issue. The problem is that I think maybe a little bit more long lasting is the fielding.
100%.
The This reminds me of under I think 2021, year one of the previous coach, and
That guy.
where we mashed our way to Omaha essentially with a lot less talented a lineup. So that was impressive what we did, but we were pretty we were well below average in fielding, and it cost us down the road. And we don't. I think we have I'm pretty sure we have a brand new infielding coach this year. Like he was on the staff before, but he wasn't a official and assistant coach, Will Fox. And so I'm just curious to see how much we can improve. Mind you, there are some guys who are playing out of their usual position. Bindrup's never been a first baseman before. We got Gavin Cash, who he's going to have to get comfortable out there because, unfortunately, like I think he played third base before, and Gavin Grahovac's got that locked down.
Yeah.
And then because we're missing Caden Sorrell right now, obviously.
Right.
And then with Gavin Grahovac, tough tough outing today. I don't anticipate that to be the normal, but I mean, I wonder if that like impingement or whatever it is still infecting him. That's what some people think is like every time the ball goes glove side, he's struggling getting it out quickly.
Yeah.
I think Ken's been great though. He's had a mishap here and there, but I think he's a leader. And him and Wyatt are developing great chemistry for their the double play stuff. But
Yes.
yeah, it's I don't know. Like I think the home runs are great. We got a lot of sluggers, but the thing that like is the most effective, especially the way we have the lineup set up, is like Hayden is our fourth hole hitter.
Yep.
Which means like we value just keeping the lineup going right now, and we're not doing that. The other day we left a lot of men on base, and today we just couldn't get anyone on base.
Right.
And then so I don't know. Man, hopefully this is all nothing, but we're about to go up against some like real competition now. Like this is a step up. Texas State's a good ball team, and then we got the Houston tournament where we got Rice, Oklahoma State, and Arizona, all respectable teams.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, let's just have some fun with it. Let's say Sorrell gets healthy and he's ready to go next weekend, not Tuesday, this next weekend. What's the move here? I mean, you have Gavin, who's maybe not himself right now. Is this an opportunity to give Gavin some rest? Is that something that they would look at, you think? Or what's the move here? Is Terrence Keel going to sit? What do you think happens?
Well, this is the problem that Michael Early was going to have no matter what, regardless of how
This
someone's
is it.
doing.
Yeah.
And he's about to come up against it because Jamal George is too good to not play consistently. Like, there's a real world where, like, I mean, he's just going to, they're going to have to show it in practice to get their way back onto the field because you're always going to play Caden Sorrell. And then if Gavin Cash's streak continues like this, he'll get I'm not saying it's a permanent bench. I don't think anyone's gonna be permanent bench. I think everyone's gonna play time, but
yeah,
he'll probably get benched for some time in favor of either Terrence Keel or Jamal George because both are too good to keep off the field. And then there's another world where if Hayden Strott's got to find his swing, and if he doesn't, I mean, a DH that doesn't hit is a hole in the lineup. And I would, and Blender Up is a great, bat has been hotter. He's got more power than a Hayden Stott, I think. Yeah. And so, like, the way they favor him, I wouldn't be surprised if they move him to DH and then they moved Jamal George to first base just because he can kind of play any position.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just me theorizing. It makes sense. First base is important, so it's he's brand new there, and he's done pretty well considering all things.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good this weekend. The big bright spot to me is the tail end of the batting lineup has been really good. Terrence Keel, Galloway, Caden. I mean, it's just crazy to see him go out there and bat. What is he, 7th?
I think 7, 8, 9 might be the best 7, 8, 9 in the country.
Yeah, and that's where the depth comes in, right? That's where Yamal can slide in. That's I don't know where Sorrell slides in. Yeah, man, that's been the encouraging part. It's just the Hayden shot not being himself yet. Gavin playing hurt. Jace, he got walked a few times, but he's not hitting like he was last week. Yeah, man, there's stuff you can do. And if things don't trend the right way, there is an answer. And again, it's too early for me to be calling for anybody to sit. Like you said, no one's going to permanently sit. We're going to see what they did. They've been getting Sawyer Farr into the game. They got Yamal into the game. You're going to see them try a lot of different things because guys are worthy of playing. They will play. And it's part of why I'm not concerned yet because these bats are just – we know what they are. We know what we have. And as long as we're not seeing real regression long term, it's going to be fine. But let's real quick, I mean, relief pitching – I think I still feel good about Fresh Corn despite what happened today.
Yeah.
I think I still feel good about Brad.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stewart got hurt, didn't he?
I think they say he'll be fine. They were just they did pull him the other day. They're just gonna be super careful. I think Pelican will be fine. Especially if I didn't mention your name, you're doing great. Is the way I put it.
Yeah.
I didn't mention Jace because I think Jace will find his swing. It'll be fine. It's not a big deal. But pitching, I think, is just developmental. Starting pitches nails. That's what a great baseline to have.
Oh, yeah.
I just wish we weren't talking about pitching so much because the hitting should be the highlight of this team. But in the meantime, Fresh Corn, he just left one slider hanging up too much, and that's what's going to happen. Especially against I think the guy was been there for a while who knocked a home run in. it's the again like that, but that was only the tie of the game. Then we had a fielding error that essentially put the winning run ahead on.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. I think the I will say that like Bear Harrison needs to be make himself more of a presence when he's in the game, because right now Galloway looks like he's really starting to lock down that position to me.
I think he looks great. I'm really happy
Yeah,
with
I know.
him.
I thought we had tighter competition, but like Galloway's been fantastic, hitting great, and then I think there's been a few pitches that have gotten away from him, but then those have also been like they're in the dirt, so
Yeah.
do what you can. But no, I think relief pitching will be fine. We're just gonna have to sort out like who's gonna be able to be like good by the end of the year, like in a competitive in tight leverage spots, and then who's gonna be more of a developmental for the because not everybody's gonna be have what it takes to make, and that's fine. That's fine, especially the young guys. I know this is the time to try out a bunch of different stuff. Again, it wouldn't matter so much if we were able to hit more.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big Band-Aid here that I anticipate, well, going into the year, anticipated would be there. I don't think I anticipated the fielding problems we've had, but as BTTS says, he just commented this, Cash played first base for Tech, Hensler was third base for Penn, Binderup was a pitcher, Kent's first year at shortstop. So I'd like to hope the defense gradually improves, and it makes total sense, man. You're in real game action, bunch of new infielding positions, and you're describing exactly where the issues have been right there, BTTS. So I just think time there it might not be perfect. It might be half the season, the whole season, you're not as clean as you'd like to be fielding. But if it gets marginally better and your bats just are at least what you expect them to be, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And maybe I'm sunshine pumping, maybe I'm sipping copium right now, but honestly, as we're talking through it, I feel less concerned than just saying, okay, yeah, we dropped a game to Cal Poly, because I think it's there.
Yeah, the only reason why I think this is not my usual I'm usually not this so hard on a baseball team, especially beginning season, as in particular to A&M this year, is because we have so many veterans that I didn't anticipate this kind of issues. Like it would be a player-driven effort. The problem isn't with the veterans, not so much, is that the new pieces, and then I didn't account for that. And they'll just take time to accommodate like any other baseball team.
Yeah, absolutely. And new pieces, some of them are doing great at bat. It's just the fielding stuff right now. So, yeah, man, we got a big opportunity this week. We got the Tuesday game. I'll be live on Tuesday, y'all. I'll be watching the game with you guys here on the channel, so make sure y'all tap into that. And then we got a big weekend at Houston. Noble, I appreciate the call, man. I'm looking forward to hearing from you after we have a little bit of, better stuff.
Oh, yeah. Quick question. How are y'all following the? I'm only able to follow A&M baseball from the radio because I have ESPN Plus, but when it's on SEC Network Plus, I can't get it.
You can't find it? Okay, so you go to the watch. I'll show you. I'll show you how I do it.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see my screen right now on the YouTube feed, not on the.
I'll look it up afterwards, but yeah, walk me through it.
Yeah, it's just you go. I go to the ESPN website, which takes you to basically the ESPN app. So if I'm watching on the computer, I just click Watch ESPN, but then I scroll down to NCAA men's baseball, NCAA baseball.
Yeah,
and that's where it is for me. It's always there. And if you have ESPN Plus, just make sure you're logged in. It should be there.
That's weird.
You're not seeing it?
Here's the thing. I think it lets me watch some games, but not all of them. Do you know if because ask me, this might be getting too much in the weeds, but do you have like a cable provider that it's asking you for?
I do log into my DirecTV, but for the ESPN SEC Network Plus games, you should just need ESPN Plus. You shouldn't need the cable.
I'll give it another shot.
But if it's SEC Network, you might not have it. If it's not a Plus game, you might not have it without the provider. That might be the thing there. But yeah, you should have the Plus stuff because you're paying money for that, so you should be able to get it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I just bought the package this weekend. I'm like, okay, well, it would have been nice to be able to actually follow what's happening besides the radio.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, you need to get after it. Well, if you're having problems, just jump onto the stream and ask me, and I'll see if I can help you out. But
I'll be there.
All right, man. Have a good one, Noble. Appreciate the call.
You too. Thanks.
All right, that was some good calls. Let's check up with the chat one more time, then we'll get out of here. Buzz's boys can't shoot, Drew. I know, man. Not a shooting team, but we should also just be taking better shots. We should be getting into better offense, I think, and I think that's recognized, and there needs to be an effort for it, especially in these big games coming up. You got to find a way to score in these close games. Bergevin's one at bat was a laser that the wind killed. Yeah, it happened a lot this week. That'll be better. Again, you're in a dome this weekend, so that should help. Tuesday should be clear. That should help. Our biggest loss from last year was Cortez, that middle relief that gets you the ninth. I know, man. just a nice bridge to the Oschenbeck innings. Yeah. It does suck, but we're going to see some guys step up. I still think there's some stuff there. We're going to see this thing settle in, but it's a big loss, no denying it. Cash will definitely have to hit to stay in the lineup. Wonder what we are paying him, though. Got to ask that notice. I have no idea. I don't even want to try to get into that. But all right, guys, good show. We just had to recap the weekend of games. We got some big ones coming up. I will be live again Tuesday night for the game versus Texas State. I think basketball is on Wednesday, so that will be TBD for me. I'm not sure if I'll be able to. Let's see. I think the basketball game is on Wednesday. I'm going to double check just to see. Because if it's on Tuesday, we'll do a double stream, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. Because it's just 2 birds with 1 stone, but it also seems really fun. Yeah, the Vandy game's on Tuesday, so I'll let you guys know 6 o'clock Tuesday if I'll be live for that. But for sure, I will see you guys 2 p.m. I'm sorry. What time is this game at? 6 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. You guys have a great night. We're going to be all right. Gig 'em.